spending time with her husband, friends, family, including her 12 grandchildren. In her spare time, she connects and celebrates with the women involved in motorsports, taking you behind the wall about their journey of life, racing, and how they juggle everything to make it all work. Welcome to Racing Girls Rock Podcast. Strap in, window nets up, the pedals are down, and when the green flag drops, we go.
Good evening, everyone. This is Melinda Russell with the International Women's Motorsports Association, and I'm here with Racing Girls Rock Podcast, and my friend Monica has joined us. A funny story, I was in Daytona this year for the first time, and I was in the media center and had walked into the restroom, actually, and Monica and I were both standing at the counter looking at ourselves in the mirror, trying to refresh because it was pretty warm there, Monica, as I recall. And I introduced myself because I recognized who she was, and then now come to find out we have a mutual friend that we've made. So it is a small world somewhat in the NASCAR family, and I'm excited to have Monica with us this evening. So welcome to the show, Monica.
Thank you so much. And don't they always say that women seem to congregate in the bathroom? We love to converse in there.
That's true. It's kind of our little private area where we can talk, where we know there's no men listening in, for sure.
Yeah, Daytona was hot and humid, and I think we were both looking in the mirror, dripping with sweat, like, well, there's nothing we can do at this point.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. So, Monica, why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself and your family, and we'll go from there.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm Monica Palumbo. I'm born and raised in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm married. I have 2 boys, which I still can't believe I'm a mom. They're 5 and 3. They're at a little summer camp right now, or else you'd probably see them battling it out behind me. So yeah, I work in NASCAR. I do like the big screen stuff and get to interview drivers and have a lot of fun with race fans. And I've been involved in NASCAR for 12 years.
12 years. So you look pretty young to have been in a career for that long. So tell me, how does one get started in a career like that with NASCAR?
Well, for me, being born and raised in Charlotte, I'm surrounded by NASCAR my whole life. And my grandfather was a huge Junior Johnson fan. And, back then they listened to the races on the radio every Sunday. But anyways, so I knew a lot about NASCAR. But personally, I have loved the media and entertainment side of things. I have a theater degree. I've lived in New York City and Los Angeles and pursued acting. And then realized it was time to come back home after kind of giving it a shot, so to speak. And I got a job emceeing for Motorsports Management International, emceeing their mobile marketing display for Bobby Labonte. So I was out in the midway. I was one of those people you see on the microphone. And talking every weekend to race fans and handing out free stuff and interviewing the drivers when they would make appearances at our mobile display. And this was when they were between Miss Winston and Miss Sprint Cup roles. And so this is when Nextel had taken over. And I was approached by someone who said, hey, they're going to start a Miss Sprint Cup organization next year. You should audition for it. And I'm like, I'm not doing a pageant. I was thinking pageant in my head. I didn't know what the role actually consisted of. So I got a little curious and understood it was more of like a media role, something I was into about, doing radio spots, interviewing drivers, getting to travel to the races, much, much more than kind of what that role used to be, as far as, yes, we did stand in victory lane, but we're not going to be kissing drivers and that sort of thing. So it got my attention, and I went in for an interview and did that for 4 years. I was Miss Sprint Cup for 4 years, and then it just kind of, and I've now been in the sport for 12 years.
Very, very cool. So it's one of those things that it just was kind of a progression. You started here and then you moved and saw that there was opportunities for you to do what you love and still be involved like in NASCAR, because obviously you had grown up around that and that was kind of probably second nature for you to be a part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then once you just kind of meet people, this was through someone had just through networking had mentioned the opening job of Miss Spring Cup. So I just kind of network and made friends and learned the sport, and now I love it.
So tell us a little bit about what you do now and why you were at Daytona when I was there.
So now I'm on the big jumbotron you see at the racetrack. So I'm an at-track reporter, and I just kind of bring some fun for the fans as far as getting out to the campgrounds and interviewing fans or people who have the best campsites to I'm on the grid interviewing the drivers before the race and during driver introductions, even going to the grandstands during the race between the stage breaks, hanging out with the race fans and just really having a good time. And also just trying to bring out the personality for the drivers, because they get asked all these hard questions every week and everybody knows the technicality about the cars, but my job is to kind of have a little fun out there and bring some personality out.
Exactly. And that's the part I love the most. So interesting that we're talking about this. We're recording this on Tuesday, a couple days after the first event at Michigan for the IWMA. And so I was on the Jumbotron and I was thinking, whoa, that's just not a pretty sight up there on the Jumbotron. But it was so cool though that we had that opportunity. The panel of ladies I had, Stacy Fine, which is someone that you and I both know that you've worked with for a long time. And Elizabeth Prestella was on there. She's the tire specialist for Chris Buescher's team. And then, of course, our interviewer, Lacey Caroline, was just amazing. Young gal, 13 years old. But someone took a picture of me when I was on the Jumbotron, and I was like, okay, I got to figure this out better before the next time. It's one thing to see other people.
I can't look at myself.
No, when you see yourself, it's a little scary at times, but what a great opportunity.
Well, no, you're on like the biggest screen out there.
The biggest screen. It was like, oh my gosh. Yeah, it was crazy, but it's also so fun. So hopefully we get to do that again. But yeah, so I love that when I saw you in Daytona, you were doing the driver interviews and stuff, but you came out to the crowd that was all standing there behind the rope, waiting for driver introductions, and you were doing some contests with some people, and I happened to be standing right next to two guys that were in the contest, and I was standing there thinking, oh, I bet I know the answers, but I don't want to be on the screen, because what if I don't? I'll make a fool of myself. And I knew every answer to the questions you asked, so I felt pretty good about that. That was fun. So how much do you travel? I mean, is it like you go to all 36 Cup races, or do you have other people that do that? Because I didn't see you at Michigan, so you must like take turns doing that.
Yes, we do. So I used to travel to majority of the races, but now I have 2 kids and I'm trying to balance motherhood, wifehood, if that's even a word, and life and work and all that. So I do about 18 races a year, which is just enough for me. I do enjoy the travel, but I do enjoy being home and being a mom as well. So I do about 18 a year, which is a good number for me.
Yeah, that's about half. And so that seems like that would be good. It wouldn't be every weekend, but probably a couple times a month. And so, yeah, you got to keep those little boys out of trouble. So you got to stay home.
Even though that's hard to do. But yeah, there are several of us. So you probably met Daryl last weekend. So yes. Daryl Mott, he used to be on Fox. And there's probably about 3 of us that kind of rotate for the big screen stuff.
Yeah. So, yeah, and that's good. I mean, what a great job for a mom, I would think, to be able to.
It's awesome.
Yeah, to be able to do that some and yet get to stay home with your boys and your husband. And so that sounds like a great opportunity. So you went to school for theater, I heard you say. Do you think that helped you get the job? A lot of times I talk to the women I interview. I like to know, like, what do you think helped you get into NASCAR? So many girls want to be the next woman cup driver. But what I always say to them is, but what's your plan B? We know that the chances of that are, slim for anyone to be a cup driver, but you have to have other interests. So your interests were theater, what would be the education behind getting into the media and doing something like you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Just say do the tons of acting classes, commercial classes, improv classes, stand-up comedy classes, camera classes. I mean, I worked my tail off for years just trying to get the training, because I feel like when you are on camera, you kind of have to have a presence. You have to know how to keep the conversation flowing. And then just from experience, I mean, a lot of stuff I would do for free, a lot of acting roles, and you just kind of have to hit the bottom of the barrel and really start from the bottom. I think a lot of people think, oh, I'm just going to audition once and I didn't get it and oh, my life is over. I mean, I still, to this day, get the door slammed in my face. Even now, it's just the industry that I'm in, and I know that and recognize that. But I say going in, you have to really want it, and you have to really start from the bottom, and get some training and build your resume up. And what's really big and helpful nowadays is I tell a lot of people, get an internship. Mm-hmm. I mean, work for free. Let them see, even though it's really hard to work for free, you've got to support yourself too. So you got to find ways to supplement income, if that's working at a restaurant at night, which I did to work for free during the day. But getting an internship really gets you in the door. You can really work on that relationship with that company or whatever you're trying to do with those people, prove yourself. And that's very helpful for people.
So I keep hearing you say relationship, networking. I also have a send out cards business, which is all about building and maintaining relationships. That's what we use that system for. And I was just at convention the week before, last week, and that's what it's all about. There's a lot of talented people out there, but it's about the personality, the networking, and the relationships that you build. And I think a lot of people forget that. Like you said, they think, oh, I'm pretty talented, I'm going to go in and I'm going to knock this out of the park and get this job. And then they don't, because there's 10 other women that are just as talented, just as pretty, just as smart. And so you have to set yourselves apart. And I love hearing you say about the relationships and the networking, because that is so important.
Oh, it really is. And my mom always told me, the one that squeaks the loudest gets the oil. So, not that you need to annoy executives and email them daily, but maybe if you haven't heard from them in a month or so, send them a reminder email. Hey, nice talking with you a month ago. I'm still here looking for something. If you have anything, keep me in mind. Or what goes a long way is a phone call. Yeah. Actually talking to someone on the phone, which is kind of not used these days. Everyone's into texting and emailing and even communicating over social media. But an actual phone call and hearing the tonality and the personality in your voice can go leaps and bounds compared to a text message.
Especially if you're going to be in the media business and, you have that kind of voice that sounds good on radio or whatever it might be. Mm-hmm. So, in that respect, a phone call would go, a long way. So would a card and brownies, right? That always works.
Absolutely. Yeah. Brownies never hurt. Who can say no to sweets?
That's right. So, yeah. So I love that part, because So many people go for an interview and then they walk away, and you know, I think they think that they're going to get the call, and you have to be a little persistent. And you know, the fact that you say you started at the bottom, you know, people look at gals like you who are successful and have, you know, the dream job, and they want to start there, and that's not how it works, is it? You have to start, like you said, start as an intern. Yes, you might have to live at your parents' house for a little while till you get that job or something, but you're not going to start at the top, are you?
No, that's really unheard of. And if it does happen, I have seen a few slip through and they out of nowhere get these amazing network jobs. And you're like, wait, you've only been in this sport a year. How did this happen? There are some people that are lucky like that, or they've made the right connection and the right relationship at the right time. Timing really is everything. So, but yeah, I have a lot of people ask me too, how can I get in the sport? Or I want to do this, or I want to do that. And I always say an internship, or find out what you're passionate about. Do you want to do radio? Because NASCAR has tons of radio. Do you want to be a pit reporter? I mean, there's specific jobs. Do you want to be an in-studio reporter? Do you want to be out with the fans? I have found my niche is I love being out with the people. I love it. Just picking up on the energy of the race fans. Mm-hmm. It's just so much fun hanging out in the grandstands and feeling the cars go by. And with the job I have, I can experience all of that. So I kind of found my niche in that, and being more personality based. And this job also allows me to do the sit down interviews at the track, which I absolutely love. It's so much fun. But yeah, so I tell people to find the niche. What do you want to do? Because it's easy to say, well, I want to be in the sport. Okay, well, there's 1,000 jobs. Let's start. What are you passionate about? What do you want to do?
Exactly. So, because one thing I tell young girls is, you know, besides driving a car, what do you like to do? Would you want to be a travel agent? Are you a CPA minded person? Are you all these different jobs? Because when you start looking at a race team or NASCAR, it's a business. And so you look at any business, those teams and those, you know, NASCAR, they all have those same kinds of jobs. It's just that you also might get to go to the races and you might be involved with that kind of thing, which is also your passion. Doesn't mean just because you're not the first woman cup, you know, you're the cup driver, that you can't race. You can still race at your track or whatever and love the racing part of it, but you can also be involved in the sport and make a difference with things. So I just encourage girls to get that education and think about what else is your passion. So
absolutely. And there's so many other jobs. I mean, you have to think with all the sponsorship, there's hospitality suites. They need people to run hospitality suites, PR girls, people to run the fundraising side of things. All these drivers have their foundations. I mean, the jobs are endless. You just have to kind of figure out what you really want to do and what you're passionate about. Because if you're passionate about it, it's really not a job and you'll really enjoy it.
Right. And it'll show. It'll absolutely shine through when you talk to someone about what you love to do. And it'll be no doubt to the person talking to you that this is really where your heart is. And so that's a big deal too, I think. So I'm going to ask you a hard question. Is there anything that you really don't like about your job?
You know, the only thing that gets tedious is the weather, really. Because, you know, it's like some weekends it can rain all weekend, and that's just a bummer. It's just, you know, because our job is outside. So that's really the only thing. Or like, you know, freezing cold days or super hot days can be like, in the grand scheme of things, if that's the only complaint, it's all good.
And, you know, there's nothing you can do about it. So it's not like it's in our hands to do that. But we're all in the same boat. Everyone that works in NASCAR, we're all in it together. So if the weather's bad, we're there together. So at least, you know, we're not alone. Right. When the Michigan race in June, I took my son-in-law and my granddaughter. She drives a race car. I took them with me, and they had neither one been to a NASCAR race. And of course, that's what happened. It rained. And then we couldn't go back the next day. The race was the next day at like 5 o'clock in the evening, and we couldn't go back that day. And how frustrating for me, because I really wanted them to get the whole experience. So, we went through the garages and we went and got a tour of one of the haulers, but they missed the race part. So at least this last weekend at Michigan, it was beautiful. And they finally got to experience the whole race part of the weekend. But
it's just heartbreaking, even for us that work in the sport, and we want the race fans to have such a good time. So we feel it for you guys. We're fortunate enough we know, okay, in a week or two we get to experience another race weekend, but maybe that's the only race you can make it to that year, and you spent all this money getting there in a hotel, or you're camping out and buying all these things at the racetrack, and it rains. I mean, it's such a bummer, and we feel it for you guys. It's just horrible.
Yeah, it really is. And a lot of times it is the only race that people get to go to.
Yeah.
It's their what they call local or close enough that they can drive to. And it's like this year, there was quite a few weekends of some really crazy weather. Chicago had some really crazy weather. So we had that too in Kalamazoo. I think the first part of the year we were, Mother Nature was winning most of the races. She was raining us out before we could even get to the camp. But it's been beautiful lately, so hopefully the rest of the season is great.
I know. We'll pray.
We'll pray. Well, I can't believe it's the trucks already started their playoffs, and I just can't believe it's getting so close to the end. It seems like the winter was very long, and I'm waiting for the race season to start, and now it's just been going so fast. But so
I say that every year. It's funny. Once we get to Homestead, I'm thinking, wait, we were just at Daytona. And I say that every single year. And then the holidays fly by, and then it's back to square one again. The years have they've flown by. They
do. They go very quickly. In fact, today, which we're recording this on August 16th, today is my 2-year anniversary of the day I launched the International Women's Motorsports Association. So exactly 2 years ago today, I put out a Facebook post asking, just said, I'm going to be working on a project involving women in motorsports. If you're interested, tag yourself here. And I had over 100 people tag themselves that day. And by the next night, I had over 200, and it's just grown from there.
Wow.
And so, so it's been, it just doesn't seem like it's been 2 years already, but it has. So time goes very quickly for sure.
That's great. And congratulations. I always tell people, go ahead and put yourself out there, because the time's going to keep moving.
It does. And, at the time, I didn't know if maybe I was the only one looking for other women to connect to. You just don't know. And then when I did that and I had such a good response, I thought, okay, this is something that hasn't been done. There's no association. There's no group for women to connect. And there's a lot of stories out there. There's a lot of great stories about women in motorsports, and I want to tell those stories. And so that's kind of what we've been doing. But it's been so fun. I've met so many amazing people like yourself, and it just it just makes everything worthwhile. The days that I think, oh, this is not going well, and then I meet a new friend, and I think, oh, I wouldn't want to be doing anything else. This is what I love. So. Yeah, next year, hopefully, we're going to be doing more events at more tracks. So that'll be fun to do that. Maybe we'll get to have you on the panel for one of our events. Yeah.
Yeah, I would love that.
Okay, awesome. So, Monica, tell me now, do you see yourself, this is what you wanted to do? You're happy here. Is this something that you want to continue to do? Is there something else that you see for your future, or do you love what you're doing so much, this is it?
Yeah, it's one of those things. I was talking about this actually with our friend Stacy Fine, that it's a great season in life for me personally, as far as being able to find that work-life balance, because it's really hard to do, especially when kids are involved and the logistics of everything. But it's so funny. When I was Miss Sprint Cup, I kept thinking, okay, what's next? I know I want to be a pit reporter. But then you get out there and you shadow a pit reporter, and it's hard. Like, I don't think people realize they have like 3 people in their ear. They're, following a scanner. They have a certain part of pit road they're working. It's a hard job. I mean, you're one person, but your brain is trying to hear 3 different things and then report on it. But so I was able to actually work for Speed and do some race hub stuff. I had a weekly gig with Steve Burns back in the day. And then I worked with Danielle Trotta on race hub, and I really love the in-studio stuff. FS1 took over. A lot of changes happened.
Yeah.
So, I honestly wouldn't mind going back to the studio stuff, but I'm just enjoying this time right now in my life while my kids are young.
Mm-hmm.
And plus, I don't know if they want to see an old lady out there on the big screen in a few years. They might be ready for.
I know. That's how I felt when I saw myself. It was like, oh my gosh, I need to lose 50 pounds, and I look.
Oh, stop it! No, us women are way too rough on ourselves. But
I know we are.
The NASCAR is ever changing, and there's always a lot of movement, especially at the end of the season. So I always say I don't know what next season will hold, but I do love where I am right now.
Yeah, and you do such a great job of it. That's for my first time at Daytona, my husband and I, and of course that for me that was the top of the bucket list of tracks to go to. I want to go to every track. That's my bucket list. And I don't know if you can see that picture right back there, but it's a picture I actually found at a garage sale in Arizona of pictures of all different tracks, matted, framed, super nice. Bought it for $10, cost me $60 to ship it back to Michigan, but that's okay. Gosh. I wanted that picture, and so it hangs here in my office as a reminder that every NASCAR track is my bucket list, and I'm knocking more of them off. But Daytona was such a great experience. I don't think there's anything like it. You've got to go for Speed Week. You've got to go to New Smyrna and some of those other tracks to get get the full experience. But my husband and I never left the infield. Well, I did. I was out talking to women, but my husband sat in the infield in front of that great big screen that's there. And he saw me on the screen when you were interviewing the men, and I said, "Did you take my picture? I was on the big screen and he's like, "No." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I'm probably never going to be on there again." And then here I was on in Michigan. So that was
love it.
But just, the atmosphere and things at Daytona. I mean, every track has its own personality, I think.
They do.
But there's nothing like Daytona, I don't think.
I agree.
I love being there and being able to meet some of the people that I did. So where are you going to be the rest of the year? Do you know what races you're going to be at?
Yeah, so I'll be in Darlington for Throwback Weekend. I'll be at Richmond. I'll be at the Roval in Charlotte. And I was supposed to go to Homestead, but not my birthday. My husband, this is going to tell you how old. I'm not there yet, but my husband is turning 40 this year. So his birthday lands every year on Homestead Weekend, and I miss his birthday every year. But this year, since it's such a big birthday, I'm going to miss Homestead and celebrate with them.
Okay. So you won't be in Phoenix.
I'll be in Phoenix too. Yes. I forgot about that one.
Okay. I know I'm going to be in Phoenix because that's where my daughters live. So I for sure will see you in Phoenix. Would love to have an event there. That would be awesome if we could do that. And then
they have the new infield there, which is amazing. It's so awesome.
That infield, there's a lot of tracks that could take a lesson from that.
I agree. It is. It's one of my favorites. They just redid it. It's awesome.
Yeah, I was telling someone over the week because honestly, Michigan needs to step it up on the infield part. But I was telling someone about all the little lounge areas and the TVs, and I'm like, I love seeing the race in person. But honestly, even at Daytona, nothing better than that big screen in front of me and the replays. And then if
you can see everything.
You can see everything. And so it sounds crazy that you spend the money or whatever to go to the track and then you sit in the infield, but it's a party in the infield.
Well, it's great because you have the little restaurants there, the lounge area, the bathrooms. You can play cornhole or whatever, but you can still see the cars on the track.
Right.
And you can still feel it going around. So you still feel like you're at the racetrack. You just kind of have the luxury of all these other things around.
Right. And to me, it's the feel, because you can kind of feel it in your body, and it's the roar and the sounds and the smells, all that adds together for the experience.
Yes.
And I can watch the race on the big screen. I'm quite happy doing that.
Yeah, and the garage there, you can just walk through the garage in Phoenix. It's unreal.
Right, and there's a lot of shade. They've done it right, and so I love Phoenix. I for sure will see you in Phoenix, if not before. I'm really hoping to come to the Roval. That's my friend Lacey and her mom Lindsay that were part of our event. They live in Charlotte, have invited us to come. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to be at the Roval, so I'll probably see you there as well. But
awesome. Well, let me know.
I will for sure. So excited to be able to talk with you today, Monica. Is there anything that I have not asked you about that you'd like to share with our listeners?
No, I think we've covered a lot of ground. I just, I've got to say I'm so thankful for you. It's race fans like you that really have heart and really take the time to you reached out and even left a special gift when you reached out to me. And it's just so sweet and so thoughtful. And it's just people like you that I'm like, oh, I just love this sport and I love the people in it. It's amazing. I
do too. I feel like I've gained more family members. I call them my race family, but there's no better sport family than a race family. My kids all play basketball and baseball and volleyball and all that, and that's all great, but it's not the same as a race family. It's just different. And if people aren't involved, they don't understand the difference.
I agree. I do have one thing I want to say real quickly, if you don't mind.
No, go ahead.
I want to tell people that maybe used to go to the racetrack that don't go back now, maybe because they're thinking it's so overpriced or they can't afford it. There are ways to get in that are reasonably priced if people would just do the research. It's not, a lot of times the tracks aren't going to promote that $10 ticket, but if you really look and search, kids normally get in free certain days, like 12 and under or 13 and under. They normally have some cheap tickets available, but even if it's for pole night or a truck race or something, just get to the racetrack. There's no other better feeling than being at the racetrack. I know TV is great and you're in the luxury of your home, but if you're worried about pricing, just do some research online and you can find some ways to make it work.
Oh, absolutely. Because I know Truck and Xfinity both, I think kids get in free. And even at Michigan, they had some really reasonably priced tickets. And, the higher up you sit, the higher the price usually, but those lower seats are great seats as well. And
they're great.
Just the experience. On the way home from Michigan on Sunday night, I was listening to Sirius Radio, and Claire B. Lang was taking calls, and this guy called in from Michigan. He was traveling back to his home with his 3 little boys. They were 11, 9, and 5. And he had taken them to the track, to the race on Sunday. And he was telling of his experience with his boys and how he will never forget that because it was their first time at the race, and how excited his boys were about the different things that went on that, after you've been to the track a few times, the flyover, it still gets you, but you're expecting and all those things and the fireworks. And yet his little boys were just in awe of everything. And I was thinking, we need more people to have that experience where they're in awe of what it's like. Because if you've not been to a race in person, you don't understand. You have to go to at least one, just like watching football on TV. It's great. I like watching football on TV, but it's not the same as being there. And so it's all about the atmosphere. And I appreciate that you encourage people to come.
And the energy that's there. We finally took our boys there, even though they're on the younger side, to a Charlotte Xfinity race because that's a local track for us. And even, me who work in the sport, we still have to pay for our own tickets too. But we took them there, and they still I watch Race Hub every night, and they still are screaming for their favorite drivers, which I don't know if I should say or not, but the boys love the M&M car. So, but just taking them to the racetrack to see what mommy does and to actually see the cars go around the track, they're obsessed with NASCAR now. So
the M&M's car happens to be my favorite car too.
I do. I saw your lanyard.
I'm probably going to have to get one that just says NASCAR and be a little less obvious about that when I'm doing those.
No, it's okay. You're a race fan. You're supposed to have a favorite driver.
Yeah, I do. And it's funny, as a race fan, and it's a funny story how I became his fan. I'll have to tell you that some other time. But, you kind of have your favorites, and then, let's say one other driver wrecks him or whatever. But then when you start getting involved, like, I met some of the drivers over the weekend in person, and I started following a few more of them a little more closely. And I'm really starting to like some of the ones that I thought I didn't like. And so it's kind of interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's interesting that, they're all people too, and they all have, and they're, just because they might drive a little aggressive or maybe they ran your guy in the wall, they're still pretty good people, and it's good to get to know them.
They really are good guys. I mean, you have to think that's their livelihood on the line. So, of course, they're passionate about it. It's just, it's the name of the game. And I think if you see a driver coming off of a wreck and he says, "Oh, everything's okay, we'll go get him next week," and you're like, "Wait, what? No, you're a human being. You should be mad." Right.
So, yeah, it's so fun. So, well, Monica, I've really enjoyed talking to you. We didn't have a chance to really chat very much in Daytona, but I'm glad that we connected and that now we've had a chance to talk. And so now we're friends, and we'll see each other at the racetrack, and that'll be great. I can't wait to hopefully see you in Charlotte for sure, and for Phoenix. So, two times here.
If you need anything, let me know. You're just the sweetest. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you choosing me to be on your podcast. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. And we will definitely see each other soon.
Okay, sounds great.
Thank you. All
right, bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Racing Girls Rock Podcast. Follow us on Facebook at International Women's Motorsports Association, or on Instagram and Twitter at the IWMA Nation. And if you know someone that should be on our show, drop us an email at iwmanation@gmail.com.